the page here. You have your meeting has been launched. You have don't see your Zoom meeting. Then you have a button here that says launch meeting. Now, these three HTML elements are grouped in a single container. You understand? And they all pick a CSS style called uh, middle center alignment. So that is why you have this text at the center and being grouped together. Now, if you move down a bit, you see another text that we have don't have Zoom client. Those don't have Zoom client installed, download. Now, this is another container. You understand? This is another container. Then if you scroll down again, you will see another text down where we have the copyright, that's the footer. So this is another container. So meaning that in an HTML page, you can actually group elements into different containers. You understand? And we
Yeah.
have HTML elements to do that. We have two main HTML elements to do that. We have the div and the span elements to group elements together within the container. Now, I said the div and the span elements allow you to group together several elements to create sections or subsection of a page. Now, for example, you might want to pull up the footnotes on a page within a div element. Now, if you look at what we have here, now, if you go back to that page, look at this footnote now. It is grouped in a single container, but that have different elements inside. So even if you are trying to add more elements here, it is still going to take this alignment and take the CSS file, CSS class file. So that is how to group elements within a page. Now, the div element to indicate that all the elements within that div element relate to the footnote. Now, you might then attach a style to this div. So that means you can actually group elements within a div class or within a div container, and every element will pick the CSS of that div. We're going to write an example for that. Now, another one is the span elements, on the other hand, can be used to group inline elements only. Now, these span elements can only be used to group an inline element only. For instance, let's say I have a paragraph, and within a paragraph, I actually want to group some elements to give them a different CSS class. So with the use of span elements, you can actually achieve that. So now let's look at an example where we have that. Now let's say, for instance, we have a div element that have an ID menu, then we align them as center. Now let's go back to our code editor and let's see, we want to group an element. So let's say we have a div tag. We close our div tag. So let's say within this div tag now, we now have HTML, different HTML elements. So let's say we have an anchor tag first. Let's say I have an anchor tag href. Then let's say we want this to point to google.com as we did last week. HTTPS. Let's say google.com. So click to visit Google. Now I close my anchor tag here. So now let's say we have this, let's say we have three elements of this search. Now, if I say, okay, let's say I want to point this to Facebook. Let me just point this one to facebook.com. Let's say Facebook. And let's say Instagram. So this Instagram.com. Instagram.com. Then our Facebook.com. Now, if I save this page now and go back to my browser to test how this actually comes out. Now, let's say I have to localhost, then full stack. Sorry, I didn't power on my server. So let me go back and reload the page. Now look at what I have here now. Sorry, click to visit Google, click to visit Facebook, click to visit Instagram. Now they're together. So what I can do is I can actually break the page so that they come after the other, or I can use a paragraph tag to enclose the anchor tag. So for this, so let's just use a break page to do this. So let me save this back now and reload this page. Now, can you see the links? Can you see it on my screen? Mr. Samuel, are you there?
I'm here. I can see it.
Okay. So now look at what I have here on my screen. You can see that I have the clickable links now on my screen. So now this by default, this is how an icon tag actually appears on your HTML page when you don't have CSS. Now you can see that the stuff actually take the left alignment. So let's say I want now, since I have all these things within a div tag, I can actually use that div tag to make an alignment to them, and each element within the div tag actually takes that CSS attribute. Now let's say I want to say align, align, then let me make them center. So now let's save this file, then go back to our browser to reload this page. See that the three tags are now at the middle. Do you understand? Can you see it?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So now
I'm doing it as you are doing it. That's why. Yes.
Yeah, but at least, please, anytime I ask questions, just respond immediately.
No problem. Apologies.
Okay. So now let's do something. Let's do a single trick. Now let's take an anchor tag out of this div class, sorry, out of this div container, and put it outside the closing tag of the div, and let's see how that will appear. So if I copy this now, let's say I copy this out. Sorry. Let me just copy it, and let's say we want to make this Twitter. Let's say twitter.com, and I say click to visit Twitter, Now, if I save this page now and go back to my browser to reload this page, now you can see that the Twitter is not taking the same attributes or the same CSS with those ones within the div container. You understand? So that is basically how the div take tag works. So every element within the div tag actually take the attributes that you set for the div. Now, if I had, let's try and copy out a paragraph tag here and place it within our div tag. You will see that it is still going to take that it's taking the same attributes with the div. So that is how the div tag works. So what we are going to do is this. Now let's create a menu tab. Let's create a menu tab for this our page. Then we'll now use we can use these attributes so that at least by the time we're creating more pages, we can actually use this as our index page. So now let's just do a single trick. Let's go back to our body section and create the div. Let's say create a div tag. Create a div. So let's say we want to. So let's name it. We can give it a class name or something, or let's just leave it that way. Or let's put an ID. So let's say we call it name menu bar. So within our class, we are expected to get anchor tags to other links or to other pages. So let's say we want to have these. So we're not going to use break page because we want them to be inline. By the time we get to CSS where we do arrangements, we look at the inline and the float. So here, let's just say we want this to be our own page. Let's see about. Let's see contact. Let's just services. Services. So here, so I'm just going to put, I'm going to put an element to separate those texts. Let me use an on-screen keyboard because my keyboard doesn't have backslash. Okay, now this is what I need. Okay, no problem. Let me just use I then.
You can copy it from the. I sent a copy to the chat. You can copy it from there.
Okay. Okay. This is what I actually want to. I want an R. Let me use this. Let me just use I so that we don't. You can go on. Let me just use I.
Okay, you mean the straight? You want the straight bar, right?
Yes, I need a straight bar. Let me see if you can get it from there.
I've sent it to the chat.
Okay,
that one.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Okay, thank you for that. So, let's save this page now and delete our page. You can see that we are now having like a menu bar here at the top of the page. So let's just put it at the main view. Let's say
line.
Okay, so I can use a line to do that. Let's just send it back. So we're going to be using this as our navbar endpoint. So of course we can give this container a background color. We won't get to say that we're going to do that so that you see how to add background colors to nav and all of those. So now let's just continue. So that's how to actually make use of div class, or let's say div container. So let's just go to a span container and see how that works. So for span container, I can use, so instead of having, let me just go back. Instead of having it in a container like this, so with a text, I can a span class is used to actually group elements within a div class. So you can have, for instance, let's say for instance, I have an element within the div class. So, but here I'm not going to put, so let's just say we have another paragraph. Now this is a paragraph within a div class, within a div container. So let's say I want to use a set attributes for this third and paragraph alone. So I can use a span container to give an attribute to those two texts. Let's say span. Then I close my span container. Now, if I go back to my browser, let's say this is the third paragraph to test span container. So if I come here now this is the paragraph to test the span container. Now you can see that this is also picking the attribute of the div. So we can then write a single, let's say you can just write a single CSS to give this a different attribute. So I can say just I can say, let's say color. Just add a style attribute. Style, I say color. I say blue. So I just want to see this. By the time we get to see this, you understand all this better. Now, if I load this page now, it's still not taking this. Okay, sorry, my spelling is wrong. Blue. If I reload this page now, you can see that this particular stuff now is now taking a different attribute from this paragraph with the help of the word of the span container. So span is used to actually take to give different attributes to your elements that are inline. So this is like you are styling an inline element here. So that is how the span container works. So if I copy, if I close this span here now, cut it here and place it here, see that only here we have these attributes. Only the element within the span we have the attributes. So you can see now that this is the element within the span container, and that is the only one that is having the attributes. So that's the difference between the div and the span container. So let's move ahead. Let's move on. So now we are going to just briefly talk about the HTML freeze and free starts. So here we have talked about some of them in the last class. So I'm just going to take you through how they work and how you can make use of them. Now, I said the phrase is used for specific purposes, though they are displayed in similar way as their basic tags. Of course, you understand some of the tags that we use. Now we have the pre, we have the TT. You have seen in previous chapter that I explained before. Now, for instance, let's say I have an emphasize text. Now, let's say you want to emphasize on a particular text. All these are just attributes to add more styles to your HTML elements. So probably you want to put in more emphasis on a particular text, or you want to call attention of your users to a particular button or something. So these are the attributes, or these are the phrase tags that you can make use of to call your attention of users to some things. So of course you already have this document so that we don't waste much time. So now anything that appears within the M tag is displayed in an emphasized text. Now let's take an example. Let's just write a paragraph. So let's copy this paragraph outside this div container and use the EM tag. So P. This is done. Now, let's say we want to call adjust to this store. Let's say EM, then we want to close this. Save this page, go back to my browser and reload this page. So you can see how EM works. So here, it italics it. If you look at what I have here now, it italics it. So there are different ways that you can actually make an emphasis to your text. So this is an example. Instead of writing instead of writing it as an italics format, you can use EM to call your attention of users to this particular word. So you might want to add on the line, you might want to add another attribute. So that is how that actually works. So you can also mark text using the mark attributes. Then you can also make your text appear more bolder by using the strong attributes. So after using the EM attributes, I can also add another attribute called strong attributes. So if I put strong here, then I close my strong. Close my strong. I save this page now and go back to my browser to reload it. So you can see that this is now looking bolder. So that is how to add strong attributes of tags to your document. So then we have the acronym element that allow you to indicate the text between acronyms. So of course we know how acronym works. Just like you are showing to user that this is an abbreviation of a particular text. So you can use acronym tags to indicate that on your web page. Then we have the quoting tag too. You can use a black quote. Now, most time, this black quote is always used when you are working with let's say blogs. Most time you can write a div and you want to show that it's a blog quote. So with the blog quotes, it calls attention of users to that particular element. So let's write another paragraph. Let's copy this paragraph and use a black quote to let me see, it's a black quote. So then black quote. I save this paragraph and go back to my browser. So you can see how this displays that. So instead of this is another paragraph. See how it displays that. So this is another paragraph. The paragraph taking a line, then to test the attribute. So that means so you are trying to actually make this stand alone. So that's the function of a black quote. I told you most time they use it in a blog platform. So anyhow you want to make use of it. So it's just like you are calling attention of that particular text. So that text will now stand alone on a single line. So that's the function of the black quote. Then you have a quote tag too. So the quote tag also is used to when you want to add a double quote to your sentence. So instead of using double quote on your system, you can actually use Q tag to do that. So if I put Q tag here now, put Q tag here, then let's see, put Q tag here too. Save this file. So if I go back to my browser and reload this page, now you now see now that I'm having a double quote in this text. So that is how all these stuff works. Now, in some other cases too, you might want to, like let's say you are working on an IT project that require you to show code within your HTML page. So you can actually use a code tag to show code on your page. So now, this site too is also used to cite a particular. So if you are quoting a text from, let's say, from an external source, maybe something that doesn't come. Of course, you know what the section means now. You're trying to quote let's say, a particular paragraph from another source that does not belong to you. You can use the cite tag to do that. So let's say I am trying to copy a text from an external source, maybe probably from another site, so that people will know that site is actually coming from somewhere else. So I can use the cite tag to do that. So now this one I'm explaining here is the code tag. This code tag is used to display code. So let's say I want to write, I'm trying to write a paragraph or let's say a page that shows that this is a code. So I can put code attributes within my paragraph tags. So I have paragraph tag. You can see this is how to declare HTML file. So now if I have my code tag here, just to show that I actually want to put in code. So here now, if I go back to my page now, let me just copy these tags. Put it in here. So if I save this page, let's see how it displays. Yeah, it's seeing that particular stuff now as the normal code attribute. So let's use text to represent that. So let's say we want to make this appear as a code. This is how to write. So let me just put this as a code here and save this page. I'll go back to my browser now to load it. You can see that this particular format is different from what you have. You look at the font, so now that this looks so different from what you have here. So most time you just so that is how it works. It shows that that particular stuff is actually a code. Like you're just trying to write a section of code on your HTML page. So now that takes us to HTML styles. So we're really moving forward. Now HTML styles is also an attribute. We call it like just like it's introduction to CSS. So there's some style attributes that actually that comes with HTML. So just like an inline styling, we call it inline styling. So instead of writing your HTML, instead of writing your CSS code at the header section of your page, you can actually use an inline styling. And we are going to be doing some example here. So I said the HTML style attribute is used to add style to an element such as color, the font size, and more. Now, setting the style of an element can be done with the style attribute. The element style attribute has the following syntax. So what you want to do is, of course, you have the tag name, the tag name of the document that you have. Then you have the style attribute. So this style name is what you are going to write before you start adding the property. So this style is the attribute you are adding to this tag name. Then these are the values. You have the property, then you have the values. Now the property is the particular CSS you are trying to bring is a property. Then the value is what values do you want to assign to that particular property. For instance, let's say I want to change my font color, or let's say I want to change my font size. So the font size is the property. The value is the value of the size, is the size I'm attaching. For instance, let's say I want my document to have a font size of 25 pixels. So the font size is the property, the 25 pixel is the value that I'm assigning to that font size. So another thing is I want to add a background color to my text. So here I can say the CSS background color property defines the background color of an element. So don't forget, as you can add all those style attributes to inline elements, you can also add it to your div tag, all those containers that we discuss, the group of an element. So you can as well do that too. Now let's take an example. Now look at the div that we have here, or let's just make use of this div that we have here. So let's say if you look at what we have here, our text is in what? Because an anchor tag automatically is speaking a blue color. So let's add a background color to this. So I can just come here now and add the style attribute. So don't forget, the first thing you had when you're adding a style attribute is you had your style name, your style attribute. So that's how to add style to an element. So here you put equal to sign and you put double quotation, because the property and the value has to be written within these double quotations or double quotation. So now the next thing I'm going to write is the attributes. So the property. So and the property is background color. I want to add background color. So I can say background color. So now I now want to add the value. So don't forget the way I write it. So after you add the property, you put double quotes. Sorry, double colon.
Column.
So colon, yes, colon. Then you put the value. So let's say you want to add black. Let's say black, or if you have the color code combination, when we get there, you will know. So I can also use the color code to do this. So I can put ash. I think 000 is black. So if I save this particular file now and go back to my browser to reload this page, so now that this is now having what? A background color of black. That is how to add background color to your to your elements. So so let's say I want to add background colors to my paragraph. For instance, let's say this particular paragraph. This is how to declare a statement. So let's say I want to add a background color here to just come here, you put your style, then you put the background color, then you can put, let's say you want to add the background to be blue. Save this page now, go back to my browser, reload this page, so that this particular stuff is not taken with a blue background color. So let's say we want to change the font size. You can also add another attribute here. Let's say I want to increase the font size. Let's say I want the font size to be let's say 45 pixels. If I save this page now, go back to my browser and load it, so that this is now much bigger. So that's how to add style attributes to your pages using inline. So if you look at what I have here now, so this one is looking bigger. So I want to change the font, let's say the font family to like the fonts. But I want to change the font, so I can use the font elements. Let's say font family. So let's see, I change the font family to these are the font family that you have. So let's want to use an impact. So I can take this impact area. So if I save this page now, of course, this particular is the first element, is the first font attribute that will be picked. So if it's available with this my browser, or my browser is pick it. If this one is not available, to look for this, to look for this, to look for this. But I'm very sure that the impact is available. So if I go back to my browser and load this page, so that you can see that this is an impact stuff, impact font. So I want to change, since this is a blue background and I have black text here. So I think it's going to be better for me to have a white text, a white color text. So I can change the font, the color of my text to white. So all I need to do here now is just go to put font color, or just put color, and you make it white. And use a ash 00 to ash 00 FFA, or just put white. So let me use ash FFA 3 or 6. I save this file now and reload my page. I have it as what? As a white text. Do you understand this?
Yes.
Yes. So that is how to do HTML styling. Now, this is what I have here. So, of course, I've explained some of these things I have here. Now, talk about the text color, and I've written it just for you to write the style, put the property of the color, then put the values of the property, maybe as blue or any other colors that you want to use. Then look at what I have here, the font family. Then I have this. I've done that before too. Then the font size to see how I change it. So you can actually use percentage, or you can use pixel to represent the value of your text, of the font size rather. So of course, by the time you are making the changes, you can always go back to your page to see how big the text becomes. So that will give you the insight of whether to increase it or to reduce it. Now we have HTML comments. HTML comments are not displayed in the browser, but they can help document your HTML source code. Now, you use HTML comment tags to actually give beautiful to structure your code. For instance, let's say you are working with other programmers, and you guys are working on the same project. Maybe you actually divide the work into different parts. Okay, you handle this section, you handle this section, you handle this section. So every one of you will be expected to write comments within your code, so that if you actually bring the code to the other programmers, they will see how the code works. Like they don't necessarily have to go through the code before they understand how the code works. So the comment is actually used to explain what the code does. You understand? So that if any other programmer just come in there, once you just go through the comment, you understand that this is how, this is where, this is what the code actually represents. So let's do an example here. So if I come to this, let's say I want to write comments for this div, for this my div. So I can come here now to write comments. And for you to write comments, you put the less than sign, you put exclamatory mark, then you put hyphen 2. Now, if you look at what I have here now, you can see that this one is now 4. So that means if I separate this, so any text that I write within this closing and opening tags will not be displayed on my HTML page. It will be considered as comment. So let's say this div is used to group my HTML elements. So now look at what I have here. Now this div is used to group my HTML elements. Now if I save this particular file now and go back to my browser and reload this page, you see that that stuff didn't appear on my page. What is a comment tag. So you can use comment tags to write the descriptions of how your code works and all of that. So, and bear it in mind that when you write comments, it will not be displayed on your HTML page. So if I mistakenly clean off one of these stuff, you can see that the text will appear. So if I go back to my browser now and reload this page, now this text is not appear because the HTML actually this HTML is not seeing it as any element. But if you are using a browser that does not support HTML5, don't be surprised that you will just see this text within your HTML page. So this is not the best way to write comments. So don't forget, it is always double hyphen sign. Then you write your codes or your description or anything in between the tags. So this one doesn't display when I remove this one because it is still seeing it as comment because we are using HTML5. So if you are working with probably HTML5 or HTML3 or something that is older version, or let's say your browser is of old version, you cannot really tell the kind of browsers that your user will use to access your web page. So if such mistake occurs, they can see what you write if you are using probably an old version browser. So that is why you have to be very careful when you are actually structuring your HTML code. So now notice that there is an exclamation point in the start tag, but not in the end tag. With comments, you can place notifications and reminders in your HTML code. Comments are also great for debugging HTML because you can comment out elements, lines of code at a time to search for errors. Now, for instance, let's say you are trying to troubleshoot or you are trying to debug your program. So you can as well use the comment to comment out a section of code. Now, let's say, for instance, let's do this thing. So if I come here now and comment out this particular div tag, or let's say I copy this out, code this, and place it here after my tag. So that means I'm telling my compiler that I'm commenting out this div. So if I save this particular page now and go back to my browser, you see that this particular div will not appear again. So go back now. So if I load this page now, this one will not appear again. So let me load this my page now. See that it doesn't appear again because I'm showing that I've already commented it out here. So that is how it works. Let me take this back. So if you open your comment tag and you forget to close the tag, everything that comes in within this will not be displayed and it will be considered as comment. So like as a feedback. So that's how to write HTML comments. Now we have this take us to HTML colors. HTML colors are specified with predefined color names, or we have the RGB, or we have the hexadecimal, or we have the HSL, we have the RGB, we have the SLA values. Now, this is used to mix colors. By the time you start building projects, your customers will tell you that this is what I want as a color. Of course, we all know what primary colors are. And we want to be able to mix colors together. We want to be able to add some colors to the primary colors to give us another color. Now, in HTML, a color can be specified by using the color name. Now, we have different color names that we can work with that actually comes with HTML5. We have the tomato, you have the orange, the dogger blue, medium screen green, we have gray, we have slate blue, we have violet, we have light gray, we have green, we have red, we have blue, you have white, you have black. Now, those are the colors that comes that are pre-installed into HTML5. So, however, there are other colors that you can add, probably using the RGB, using the hexadecimal code, using the HSL, using the RGB, using the HSA. So now let's take one of these colors and see how it works. So now let's make use of this tomato first. Now if you go back to our div class here, our div, look at this div we have here. So let's say we want to put the background color to be tomato. If I say style, I say background color, then I can put tomato. So tomato is a predefined color for HTML. So if I save this particular code now, go back to my browser and load this page, because it's already taking this particular color. So those are the colors that you can work with on HTML. So now let's go and look at how we can actually make use of RGB to add more other colors to our primary colors. Now, so you are going to, now let me just copy this text. Let me copy this text so that we don't. Now, these are the colors that I have here. So let me take off this style. Then write the heading tag, this heading tag within my div tag. Okay, my div ins here. So now these are the colors that I have on that stuff. So if I go back and read my page now, these are the colors I have. So these are like colors that already comes with your HTML code. So these colors we are just pick my background color, my text color, medium sea green, and all of that. So these are colors that you can work with. So however, you want to look at how you can also mix colors too. Let me do something. So let me just put this background. Okay, let's leave this. Let me leave this way. So let's see how we can mix colors. Now, we have, first of all, we're going to be looking at RGB. Now in RGB, the three primary colors that you have is red, green, and blue. Red, green, and blue. Now, the head there is the upper channel, and the upper channel represents the opacity. That is how thick the color becomes. That is the function of the A there, which is your alpha channel. Please, are you with me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly, sir.
Great. Now, I said an RGB color value represents the red, green, and blue colors or light sources. An RGB color value is an extension of RGB with an alpha channel, which is the opacity. Now, RGB color values. In HTML, a color can be specified as an RGB value using the formula, then RGB. So once you have the RGB, you know that the properties now are red, green, and blue. Now, this is how it is arranged. When you put RGB, then you know that what comes in is the values for these properties. And your properties are the red, the green, and the blue. Now, each parameter of red, green, and blue defines the intensity of the color with a value of 0 and 255. Now, let's do something here. Now, let's check the intensity of our color. Now, let's say we want to try it with this our div tag. Let's try with this div, with this old div. Now, let's say want to use RGB, and don't forget to say the RGB represents the red, the green, and the blue. So now let's come here now and say background color, back, background. Sorry, I'm supposed to put style, background color. So here I want to make use of RGB. So of course, once I put RGB, So now you can see now that this, look at the attributes I have here now. I have, sorry, you look at the properties. The RGB is, I have red, I have green, I have blue. Now let me save this particular file now. This is just like I'm having this at the peak, 255, 255.00, these. So if I go back,
that should be black.
so now it should not be black because I'm not assigning any values to it. You understand? Right now, just like I'm just leaving the properties. So let's put the property.
Okay.
Yes. Here now, you're not supposed to put the property, you're supposed to put the values of the property. Now, this is just like a guide. This guide is given to us by this code editor. So we are going to put the value between 0 to 255. So now let's say I want to put this to be 255, then let's put others to be 0. This one to be 0, then this to be 0 too. Now, if I save this file now, am I supposed to get, what color am I supposed to get now as my background color?
Red.
Sure. Great. Thank you. So I'm supposed to get red. You can see I have red because I put the intensity of other colors to be 0. So likewise, if I put this green. So let's, if I had if I just had some colors from green, let's say I just want this to be 56. So now that means I will now be having something lighter than this. So now that so this red, my red now becomes lighter because I've added some values of green. So now let me add some values of blue too. Let's say I want to add a 100 values of blue. You can see that the code actually changes. So this is how to add colors to your HTML document using the RGB intensity. So the values of your properties actually determine the intensity of the color. So if I even reduce this to, let's say 20, let's say 120. So right now I'm now having the mixture of my red, my green, and the blue using this at this rate or at these values. So if I load this page now, you can see what I have now as my color. So that is how to combine colors together using the RGB. So now let's look at the opacity too. We determine the opacity, like the thickness or the fadeness of our color. So I said this means that, so now look at what I have here now, 256, 256, 256. Now those are the possible colors. Now, for example, we've done that example. To display black, of course, you set everything to 0. Once those RGB values are 0, it will give you black. And once you set everything to 255 at the maximum, everything goes into white. So if you're having the same values, you're having 255 values of red, the maximum values for green, the maximum value for blue, it gives you white. If you're having 0 values for all of them, it gives you black. So now, let's say let's say shade of gray. Shade of gray are often defined using the equal value for all the 3 parameters. Now, let's look at what we have here. Now, RGB color values. So now when you have, now shade of gray is when you have the same values for all of them. So let's say I have 120 here. I have 120 here. I have 120 here. So, the color becomes gray. So back now, the color becomes gray. You can see. So that is how to. So if I put my background color now, I just put gray, it will still take the same value. So, but if you want to make use of RGB to mix colors, you can use the RGB values. So now let's look at the RGBA, the opacity value. Now, the RGB value are an extension of the RGB color values with an alpha channel, which specifies the opacity for a color. An RGB color value is specified with, of course, the red, green, blue, and the opacity, which is the alpha. Now, the other parameter is numbered between 0.0 to, sorry, between 0 to 0.0 to 1. So fully transparent. So it's just to add the opacity. This is the transparency to your color. So between 0 to 1 will give you the values of the opacity. Now the other values is between 0 to what? To 1. So if you put 0, 0.0, 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, 0.8 to 1, so that determines how faint or how thick your color becomes. Now, look at what we have here. So let's say we have a color here and we have the opacity value. So let's just add an opacity value to the background color we have here. So I have the background color to set that to this gray, and let me add another attribute of the alpha. Let's say 0.8. If I save this value, save this, and load this page, you can see that the color becomes so faint. So if I take this one to 1, let's save this. See now that this is the highest, so it becomes thick. So if I put that 0.1, and load this page, consider that it takes it to the minimum thing. So if I now take back to 0 now, so at 0, the stuff becomes so transparent, like you don't even have any color again. You understand? So just like if you are trying to place, like, now this one is done is actually is useful when you are trying to place an image on a background. So you can set the background you can set the opacity to your desired value. So let's say you want to make the background to be transparent. So what you need to do is change the opacity to 0 to make it so transparent. So of course we still have this color there, but because our alpha value is 0, so it makes it transparent. If I take these values, so you can see how the opacity works. So you can just play with these colors at the end of the class, play with the colors and play with the alpha values to show you how they come. Now that takes us to the hexadecimal colors. The hexadecimal color is specified with RGB, RRGGBB. Now instead of RGB that you have to enclose in the bracket, so this one take the hash value of red, green, and blue. So here you are also trying to mix the colors of red, green, and blue. Now where the RR represents the red, the GG represents green, and the BB represents blue in hexadecimal integers. So in HTML, the color can be specified using the hexadecimal value in the form of hash RR GG BB. Now, as I explained, where the RR represents the red, GG represents the green, and the blue is represented as BB. So with the same value, so from that other one, instead of using the 0 to 255, you use 0, 0 or use FF. So the 0, 0 represents, so you can use, so that's the hexadecimal value of your color code. So now, for instance, so if you had 0, 0 of red to FF, if you have 6F, it's just like when you have in your RGB, when you have all the colors to be 0, 0, 0, you have black. You have FFA, you have 255, 255, 255, you have white. So the same way this one also works. So if you have the 0, 0 for blue, for red, 0, 0 for green, 0, 0 for blue, you have black color. If you have FF for blue, for red, FF for green, FF for blue, you have white. So you can then decide to manipulate and add different colors using different code combinations. So most times, most brands, they used to have their color hexadecimal colors. So that's why if you want to work with someone, you can ask them if they have hexadecimal colors for their, so that you work with the exact colors of their brand. You understand? So we are going to make some colors here. So let's take, for instance, let's create another div tag. Let's create another div tag here. So I want to have the then another div here. Where's my div tag? So within my div tag, let me just copy this anchor tags. So now, if I save this my file now, let me just align this to be at the left to make it different. So if I go this page, sorry, let me make it at the right. So yeah, it's pushed to the right here. So now, let's say I want to add a background color to this particular div tag using the hexadecimal values. So here I can say background color. Let's put style background color. So my background color here. So instead of RGB or RGB, I'm going to use hexadecimal. So hexadecimal, if I combine, so first thing you want to add is hash sign. So that hash is the first value, is the first value you are writing for your hexadecimal value. So you now have to combine the values of red, green, and blue. So let me combine them at the minimum, which is at 0, 0. So if I put 0, 0 for red, 0, 0 for green, 0, 0 for blue. So I'm trying to get black color. If I save this particular stuff now and load my page, see now that my D is now what? It's now black background. So then at the same time, if I change all these ones to FFF for red, FFF for green, FFF for blue, save this, is giving me white. So that's how to add hexadecimal. So you can actually use the color code to get the exact hexadecimal values of your code. So I'm going to copy out this code. I'm going to copy this code and we'll have the color combinations. So here, if I save this in this file now and lose my page, so you can see now that I have all my colors in this. So this is how to use hexadecimal colors. Instead of using the RGB, you can as well use. So they actually does the same thing. It's just the value that you know. So that you use the RGB or you use the hexadecimal. So now that takes us to the hue saturation and the lightness. Now the hue saturation and the lightness, which is represented as HSL, is also an extension of it's also a color code combination that you can use. So instead of using the RGBA, using the hexadecimal, so you can use HSL, which represents the hue, saturation, and lightness. So don't be confused. Sometimes you might be working with someone who provide you with HSL code combination or RGBA code combination or hexadecimal code combination. So they all does the same thing. So it's just for you to be able to identify and make use of the exact code that is provided. Now, in HTML, a code can be specified using the hue, saturation, and lightness in the form of HLCell. That's the same way you have the RGB and this. So here we have the HLCell, which is the hue, saturation, and lightness. Hue is the degree on the color wheel from 0 to 360. Now, 0 is red, 120 is green, and 240 is blue. So that means when you have your hue to be at 360, you are going to have red. When you have 360 for your hue, and every other value is 0, so you have red. When you have your hue to be at 120 and other values are 0, you have green. And when you have your hue at 240 and other values are 0, you have what? You have blue. So please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Okay. So saturation is a percentage value, 0%, which means a shade of gray. So the value of saturation you are adding is the gray value. So anytime you are adding the value of saturation, you are adding the gray value to the hue color. So, and don't forget, between 0 to 360 is your red. So at 0, you have red. At 180, you are easy. Between 0 to 360 is where you have the colors, the primary colors. So that means at 0, you have red. At 120, you have pure green. So for instance, let me say if I have my hue to be at let's say at 90. So of course, I'm able to, so in that format, I'm mixing green to my red. So that will give me a different color. So, but here, if I'm adding a shade of gray to my colors, I'm going to be talking about adding the gray from the saturation. That is how that one works. Then the lightness is percentage value of black to white. Of course, we know, like when you're setting the color from 0 to 100, that gives you the effect of 0 to black, of white to black. So at 0, you have a black color, and at 100%, you have white. So that gives you the percentage of your color in with the lightness effect. So now let's copy this code. Let's create another div class. Let's another div element. So let's copy this. So let's just make this center. So then I'm going to copy this. Now, look at the color here now. So primary, so here now it shows that I'm having what? I'm going to have 0 color because this sub is at what? At 0. So if my value here is at 120, I'll be getting green. If my value is at 240, I'll be getting what? Be getting blue. So that's the meaning. So if I save this particular stuff now, so if I go back to my browser and reload my page, now I have a pure red because the value of my hue color is what? Is 0. So when I have it at 240, which is the maximum, I have blue. If I change this one to 120 now, I'll be having green. So now if you look at what we have here now, we have 140 here. So this one exceeded 120, which is giving us a different color from green. So, and this saturation is to give us how thick your color becomes, and this lightning also gives us the values of the effect of white to black that you're adding to your color. So now let me change this particular one from 147 now to 120. So now that I'm going to be having more green color. So you can see now, but because I'm adding a saturation effect, I'm also adding a white lightning effect to my color. So if I change these other two values to 0, 0, then I'll be having pure green. 0 value, No, I think this is giving me. Oh, okay, let me just put this to be 100% because right now, since my hue color is 0, it will be giving me black. This is giving me black. So if I want to have green color, so let me just take this one to white. Let me put my zone to be at 100%. Then put my hue to be at 100% too. So I'm having pure white. Pure white. And if this color is 0, I'll be having white. Because this lightning effect now, let's look at that. I'm having pure white because this particular value is 100. It's 100. So let me take it to 50. So to 50 now, I'm having pure green. So let me just take it to 0. So because I've taken the lightning effect to black now, so it's going to give me a black color. So that's how to mix color here using the HSL attributes. So now this represents the colors between 0 to between a green to. So here, if I put at 50%, let me put this one at 50%. So I should be having pure green now. Having pure green, yeah. So you can see. So that's how to mix color using the HSL color code combination. Now, the saturation can be described as intensity of the color. Of course, we know what an intensity means. 100% means pure color. So no shade of gray. We are not adding gray to our color. Then we're not adding gray to our color. And if our lightning effect is at 0, then that means we are having a pure color values. So for instance, let's say now if you look at what we have here now at 0 color for our red here, when we have 0 color, this is red. Here now we are not having any shade of gray. Then at this 50% means that the difference between white and black now is 0. So nothing is coming from this lightning. So that means we're going to be having pure red here. So if you change this one to 120, which is our green value, change it on to 0, 100%, change it to 50%. So we are going to be having green value here. So that is the value of the saturation. Saturation is just the weight, how thick the opacity, or the shade of gray, rather the shade of gray to your color. Then 50% means, so 50% is 50%. Then but you can see the color. So when you put it at 50%, you are already adding gray. You're already adding shade of gray to your colors. So then at 0% completely is gray. So of course, when you put that 0% completely, you are making that particular color a gray version of that color, shade of gray. So now you can try this color combination on your copy them and place it on your code editor and see the output. Now the lightness, which is the other attribute. Now the lightness of the color can be described as how much light you want to give to the color. Now the 0% means you are having no light and it's going to give you black. We have tried that. 50% means there is light. That is neither white or black. So there, if you put the lightning effect to be at 50%, so you're going to be getting the exact color you have. So if your hue is at 120, you're going to get green. If it's at 0, you get red, and if it's at 240, you get your blue. So that is the effect of the lightning on your colors. So I said at 0%, you're going to have black, and at 100%, you have white. Now the shade of gray, which I have already explained, but the shade of gray is often defined as setting the value of hue saturation to 0 and adjust the lightning from 0% to 100%. So you can try this color combination to what you have here now. If you look at what you have here now, so hue is at 0, which is your red. You have a saturation to be at no gray, then you are adding lightning of 20%. Now, if you try this, let's try this. Let's try this. Let's see. Shade of, so if I go back to my, so you can see now, look at the shade of gray that I have now. So at 0%, I'm able to get like, see that as this one increases, now the shade of gray is at 0%. So that means I'm having a gray color already. You understand? So at 20%, you see, now this one is the light, we are talking about the lightning effect now. So at 20%, you see the effect of light I have here. Now I can still see the text here because my stuff is at 20%. So if I change this one back to 0 now, see that I will not be seeing anything. It will not be at everything will not be black. So that everything is black completely. So it's because my text color is black and background color is also, the hue is also black and there's no lightning. So I'm having 0%. So that is how, and so on and so forth. So by the time you are seeing, you are adding the colors, you see how the effect of having it. So when you change this one out to, so if I change this one back to 50% now, change to 50%, change this one to 50%. So then I will not be having deep of red because, so I've taken away my saturation. No, so this one is not, so I'm not adding any shade of stuff here now. So this light now is now at 50%. Sorry. If I load this page now, I will be having red, deep red. Control C. My browser now, I load this. So you now see that I'm having what? Deep red. So that is how to add a color codes to your program. So now let's look at the alpha effects. The alpha color HSLA color values are the extension of SHSL. Though the same way we have the RGB and the RGBA. It's an alpha channel which specifies the opacity for the color. So at 0, you have the full color, just like the transparency. So when you have at 0 to 1, so at full 1, you have the maximum transparency. At 0, you have the least transparency. So now let's say we want to add transparency to this color. The difference between lightning and transparency. Transparency, of course, you understand too. Transparency is showing you how do I put this? Transparency is just to show you that if something is at the background, once something is transparent, if you have a text at the background, for instance, let's say we put our image, we put an image as a background and we make the image to be transparent, or we put a background color to be transparent and we put an image as overlay. So you will be seeing the text on that image because it's on transparent. When something is transparent, that means you can easily access something that is after that particular attribute or other particular value. So that's it. So here now, if I'm adding transparency of 1, let's see, of 1% of 1.
You did not put the HLSA, you can see HSLA.
Okay.
Does it affect if you forget to put it?
Yeah, it affects. So I have to put it. Thank you for reminding me.
Same thing with the RGB, right?
Yes, RGB. Yes, if you don't put the A, it will not take the value of that A. It will just assume that this value we are putting here is valueless. You understand me? It will not take it. It will not make it any. It will not add any value of 8 to it if you don't put it here. Just the same way if you put RGB, I am not putting the value of A without adding A to the RGB. It will not take the effect. So you have to add the HSLA, then you put the value here. Let's see 1. So I think so Now let me change this one to 0. Let's say like 0.5. At 0.5. You can see now, you can see the transparency now that the stuff is not becoming transparent. So at 0, it should become yeah, at 0, it should become full transparent and there will not be any color at the background. But now that of course we have the color at the background, but because the stuff is totally transparent, so that's why we are not seeing any color from here again. So that is how to add transparent effects to your HSLA color code. 0.4. So that's it. The next class is HTML image. Please, do you have any questions so far before we move on?
No, I do not. I don't have any image thus far.
Okay, so now let's just quickly run through how to add images to your HTML page. Now, I said image can improve your design, and in fact, it's one of the most popularly used tags in HTML because there's no way you design an application without actually adding images to your document. So, and we have a tag that is used to do that. We call it the IMG tag. The IMG tag is an empty tag, meaning that, I remember that I told you what an empty tag is. Can you remind me what's an empty tag?
Does not have a closing, what was that thing again?
Thank you.
Doesn't have a closing
tag, exactly. So it's an empty tag because it does not have a closing tag. So now that it requires 2 attributes that you need to have for your image tag. You need to have the source and you need to have the alternate text. Now the source is the directory or the location of the image file that you are bringing on your page, and the alternate text is if, for instance, the image refuses to load, the alternate text will appear. So, for instance, let's say a user has a slow connection and the image could not be loaded on the web page, the alternate text will appear. Or maybe there is a programming error. Maybe possibly the programmer actually referenced a wrong URL of the image, so it will not be seen on the page. So instead, it will just display alternate text. So now let's go and check what we do. So here, let's say we want to add another div that we're going to center. So here now, let's say I want to have the IMG tag. So now let me just put this on as center too. Just say align center. So here. Now I want to put the image, I want to put an image here now. So first of all, let's go back and check any image file online. So let me go to AI Lead Tech, AI Lead Tech. Let me see if I have an image here. Now, look at this particular image. Now, this image is actually taken from a particular directory. So, if I want to, there are two ways by which you can actually add image to your document. You can actually reference it online, or you can have the image on your local file, like you have it on your project, then you reference it. We are going to be doing the 2 examples. So now let's say I don't want to have this image on my local system. I want to pick it from this particular source. You understand? So I can actually, so the only thing I need to do is I need to check where this image file is on this server, on this particular site server. So if I go and say open this image in the new tab, you can see now this is where I have my image file. Look at this image, this particular image. Now look at, this is the directory of this image. So if I copy this particular location and place it within my code, I'm going to get this image on my system, on my web page. Now let me copy this code. Then go to my source code and put the empty tag img. Now when you put the img means you want to bring in an image, and the next thing you are going to put is the source, which is represented with src. Src means source. So when you put source, you put in the source file. So this source file now is where I'm taking it from. So if I place this link now, look at this link now. This link will now look for this particular link and bring this image to my file. So then I can add the alternate text attribute in case I'm not able to load that particular image. Let's say AI lead image. I'm going to save this file now and go back to my browser and load my page so that I'm having the image now on my file. Can you see it?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So I'm going to do something now. So I'm going to download this image to my directory. Let me just save this image as. So I'm going to take it to my folder. Here I have my full stack project, htdocs. So now I can create a new file here now. To create a new folder, let me just say I want to create a new folder. I can create a new folder. There I name it images. So that means every image I'm going to be using for this project, I'm going to be saving it in this image file. So I can open this image file, then name it. I can give this image any name. Let me name it AI lead. AI lead. So now, of course, I have this file now. So if I go to my source file now, where I have my projects and the full stack, so I have this image folder now. So inside this image folder, I have an image named AI lead. Now, I can reference that same image that I have on my local folder now. Here, it's just changing this particular source. So here I can create another source, HTML source, and just come here and say img src. Then here now I will to reference this file now. Since it's within my htdocs directly, like it's still within my. Now look at where I have my index file. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
So now this is where I have my index file. So since I'm adding this, I want to bring this image file into this index.html file. So the only thing I need to do here is just reference this image folder because they are all in the same directory. So I'm going to reference this image folder, then I'll open this image within my document. I'm going to open this image file, then append my my file name, which is the AI lead img name. So here I'm going to open, since they are in the same directory, I'm just going to open the folder, which is img. You saw the images. My folder name is images. Don't forget. This is the folder name, images. I'm going to add my images. Then I'll put the file name. The file name is AI lead. AI lead. And don't forget the extension .jpg. The file extension is .jpg. Now, if you go back to that your directory on this img, and if you over on this AI, you will see that you have AI lead.jpg. Now the file extension is what? The file type is .jpg. If you don't remember to put your extension, it will not load and it will not work. So here now, I've referenced this file. Then let's say I want to put my alternate attribute. Then I will name it so AI lead image. So if I save this code file now and go back to my browser and reload this page, so now I have the same image here from different source. This one comes from the site, while this one comes from my local directory. So I can do something. I can add another attribute to differentiate them so that when user over on each of the images, I can add another attribute called the title attribute. I can say title. Let's say this one comes from the website. So here I can add another attribute here. I will say title. I will just say comes folder. Or let me just say my local folder from local folder. So my local folder. So if I save this file now and go back to my page, now if I reload or if I over on this mouse now, you see now this is showing, it's showing now that this comes from the website. When I over, because I have added another attribute called the title attributes. So if I over on this one, I say comes from the local folder. So that's basically how to add image to your websites or to your projects. So before we call it a day, let me just quickly, because we are already, this is just 3 minutes to 12. So let me see that if I have another attribute I need to add here. If I had the alternate text, then we can add the dimension of our image. That's the image size and width. I think I can just leave this to the next class so that I don't rush too much. Let me see. It's not so much. Okay, so let's just quickly add the attribute or call it a day. So it's very simple. So you can decide the width and the height of your image. So I can just put, there are two ways. Width and height are both width and height are attributes of CSS. You can actually include it within your style attribute, or you can write it just the same way we use to write align without putting style. So you can put the width. Let's see, I can put the width. Let's say I want to make it 30 pixels. Then I put the height 40 pixels. So here now we are adding the width and the height attribute to the image on the local folder. Now you see that it will reduce the size of it, because ordinarily this particular image is taking it at 100%. So, but right now that we are reducing the size to 30 and 40. So let's go and see the effects on our browser. So you can see that this particular image now becomes so small. So now let me break the page so that you can see it very well. If I break this page here now, I'll save this file. So if I load this page now, so this image is now looking so small. So let me just add 10 to this. Let's see, I make this one 300. I make this one 400. Let's save this one now. Go back to my browser and load it. So you can see that you see the size that I have now. So we are going to stop here for today, and we will continue from here tomorrow, same time, same venue. So let me know if you have any question before we end the class.
I have no questions actually.
Okay. So please, what I will expect you to do now is, before tomorrow's class,